Hello everyone, you're watching a gameplay on the map Canals, and it's going to be King of the Hill. This is pulled from the developer playlist, and as you know, I usually like to do rants about the game, especially when we have new updates, and we just recently got the August update, so I figured now would be a fun time to do a casual kind of commentary with the casual gameplay in the background. If you keep up with my channel, you already know how I feel about the maps we've been receiving, so I don't want to focus on that too much because I don't want my commentaries to be getting repetitive. So I thought an interesting topic to kind of get your thoughts on would be the overall post-launch support Gears of War 4 has received, since we are now in, I believe, the 10th month out from when the game released, and we're going to closely be creeping up on a full year of having Gears 4 out, which is actually kind of a long time, even though it seems like it has flown by. Now, post-launch support is not something that's easy to do, and not something I think you should really expect from too many titles unless the developers explicitly say that you should expect to be receiving post-launch support, and that is something that we were told to expect for Gears of War 4. In fact, I think that was also part of the sell for trying to get consumers to purchase the game, and Halo 5 is another game that has done that well, and I think Gears 4 in some aspects has done its post-launch support really well, and there's other aspects that I am not too impressed with as a PvP player that I'm going to be discussing, but I do think it's important to stay objective because I feel like if I was a Horde player, some of the post-launch support I would be in love with, and I'll get into that in a sec. For the August update, if you didn't know, we received Canals and a variation of Forge along with a Commando Dom skin, which I have yet to get, and some other cool stuff that I'm sure that I am missing. And you know I'm going to be coming after the maps in this commentary a little bit later, just for a split second at least. But in terms of the overall kind of support Gears 4 has been receiving, I feel like as a PvP player, there has been a lack of new content that has really hooked me and made me feel like I'm playing a different game or in some sort of different realm than I was when the game first came out. And I wish I didn't have to say that, because when a game's been out for 10 months, you'd kind of hope that there's be a few things that would be new or stick out to you or pull you in a way that was not previously in the game before. So just to try to make sense of this, the things that come to mind when I think of this is we've had barely any new maps that have not been in previous Gears titles. We haven't seen any new game modes, although we have seen some really cool stuff in the special events playlist, so I'll definitely give credit where credit's due there. But I also, back to the maps for just a second, somebody had left a comment on one of my videos basically saying that for them, new maps allowed them to create new experiences with friends or just in the game itself, which is really what helped them have moments that stand out to them. So with so many throwback maps, it's hard to kind of create those new memories that you would hope to have from a game like this, and obviously new game types would help with that as well. Especially with the developer playlist, that was something that I figured would not be early access playlist, but more of a test really cool new game modes and game ideas. That was something that I would have hoped at this point would have had some use, so we could try some really cool new things that could potentially be implemented in the game full time. Now, we have had some playlists like the competitive 2.0 beta, which is worth talking about in a separate video itself, which has given us some new kind of things to try and play with, including, you know, escalation and new like hills and settings and whatnot. But that is not exclusive to the developer playlist, so that is another thing obviously that I'm not super duper happy about. Now, as a Horde player, I look at the post-launch support and I'm thinking, you know what, it's actually not that bad. You had that whole Rise of the Horde implementation where you have all these new skills and modes and stuff. So for me, if I was a Horde player, I'd be pretty happy in terms of that type of support I get. But I think one of the main points I wanted to make for this commentary was just sort of setting expectations and then realizing those expectations that you set in the lifetime of a game. We're getting to the point now where Gears 5 is probably at the forefront, if it's not already, of the Coalition's attention, if that makes sense, and Gears 4 is going to be on the back burner because sooner or later this, you know, the game needs to focus more on the sequel that's coming out. In a lot of ways, I think Gears 4 was just focused on the revitalization of Gears as a series as a whole, since it really took a huge hit after Judgment. But at the same time, I feel like we were told to expect certain things that just weren't realized with Gears 4, and that goes with the idea of, you know, having this new content introduced into the game every month, and while the Coalition has stayed true to providing monthly updates and fixing a lot of things, and they've added a lot of great stuff, I felt like they got me a little too excited when the game first came out with some of the things they had planned to do or kind of alluded to doing, whether it be the new maps or modes that they'd be trying out or stuff like that. Once again, very PvP focused for me. And then we didn't really get it, so I almost feel like a better approach would have been the whole idea of less is more, in the sense that, you know, if the Coalition set this expectation that we're just going to get maybe one brand new map and a new mode every 2 months or whatnot, or something like that, so they wouldn't have to put out as much content as they do, because to their defense, they do put out a ton of content. The maps every month and all the skins and whatnot, characters, it's a ton to be putting out, and that's great, but it's almost an oversaturation of things that I don't really care about, when I'd prefer if they just focus more energy on providing things that I do care about. So perhaps you'll agree with me when I say, you know, some of these characters that they've added in, like civilian male, or I don't even know what they're called, just some random characters that we've never seen. Wouldn't it be great if they were able to focus more resources and provide us with some of the few characters we actually want to see, like a Delta Pack with Classic Bear, Dom, Marcus, Cole, etc. I understand that that would require them to have people come in to provide voiceovers and whatnot for the lines and stuff, but perhaps it would have been more viable to provide content in smaller quantities like that people actually wanted, if they didn't have to focus too much on just providing a crap ton of content, for lack of better words. So, and I think the same is true for maps. Instead of kind of reskinning and redesigning current maps or maps they already had to make sure that they hit 2 maps every cycle of the month, it would have been much better, in my opinion, if we just had literally one brand new map a month, and at this point we would have 10 new maps. So just something I wanted to get people's thoughts on and have them consider, since we are coming up to the full year of Gears 4 being out, and for the most part it's been good, but you know, there's nothing wrong with really liking a game but being frustrated with a certain aspect of it, or hoping that there was more to it. And that's kind of how I feel about the general support of the game at this stage. So I hope you enjoyed the gameplay, and I hope you enjoyed the commentary, and I'm looking forward to reading your thoughts on this topic.